Hi guys, my name is Mindy Grace, and you just stopped by my channel, Girl of a Different Era. It is so wonderful to see you all again for a sewing vlog. Today I have a really fun and exciting announcement to tell you all. That's right, if you didn't notice it in the title below, maybe I still can surprise you with it. Through a series of upcoming vlogs, I'm going to be recreating this poster outfit worn by the real Annie Oakley in the late 1880s to early 1890s. When I came across this poster when I was just scrolling through internet, I don't know exactly what I was doing, but when I came across it, it kind of was just, I couldn't get it out of my head. And I felt like it was something I should do, like my next really big project after I moved to the Midwest. I mean, what better way? I would be sort of getting into Western culture. I mean, Annie Oakley was born in Indiana, and that's not so very far away from Missouri. And I just felt like it was something, like the next step. I can't explain it, but it just felt like the next step. I know I'll be learning a lot through it, and it'll hopefully give me the confidence I need to start making some of these other outfits for events that I want to be making in the future. All of that to say, I am really excited to share this with you guys and that you all want to come along. Today, you'll be joining me for the first vlog in the series. That's right. Today, we'll be starting from the very beginning, because it's a very good place to start. We'll be starting with making the combinations. So, let's get right in. For all you who might not know, combinations is just a short way of saying combination underwear, which is basically the earlier chemise and drawers all in one to reduce the bulk at the waist seam. So I am using this pattern by the Mantua Maker. I'm not positive if I'm pronouncing that right, but I got this off Etsy, and if you guys are interested, I can definitely link her shop in the description below. I love the way she calls this the underside of the 1800s. I just find that really fun. And she's included a nice packet of directions. To begin with, we've got a little bit of a history of combinations. We've got cutting out and finding your measurement. And I am a measurement small, so that is the section of the pattern that I cut out. And then she has got all these instructions that come right along with it. She even has talking about seam finishes and all those little things like that. And even on one of these pages, it talks about where you could possibly add lace and decorations. So that is really fun, and I've already got the pattern. Here is a glimpse of my one pattern piece. They had me put 3 pieces together and then cut it out all at once. I mean, it really reduced the amount of seams, which I'm all for, and I thought it was kind of cool. I am also using the late 1880s version of this pattern, which basically is a shorter leg, and we don't bunch up the leg. So I just folded that right under like the instructions said. And it's right to making the darts, which was actually quite a process, but first off I just started by pinning it in a few places and marking the pins on the other side. Then I just connected those dots with the pencil. However, the darts were not even and they really weren't looking the way they were supposed to, so I went through and tried to make a more defined line by poking lots of little pinholes and just retracing by following those pinholes. Cutting out the neckline because I was using the lower version of the neckline, which requires less buttons and it's more of the tank top style as opposed to the all the way right up to your neck style. So I just had to alter that part right there and cut it right out. Now I had seamed the two back pieces together by using a French seam. So basically I'm just showing it off because I was happy with it. And as you can see, that's where the side seam just curves right in, and it's all seamed together now with lovely French seams and a view for the front. Voila! I also sewed the two drawer legs together. Pretty basic, but finally they started looking like pant legs instead of large pieces of white cloth. And I pinned back that front part, which has the buttons. So it's the button placket and also the buttonhole placket. So you have to pin it back on either side and sew it into place. And then pinning the facing back on the drawers. The crotch area has the facing, so stitching that in place on the one side, then flopping it over to stitch in place again. Another day here in Missouri, and I just want to catch you up on what I did yesterday and what I'm planning to do next in this combinations project. Have to admit, it's been a little interesting. As you saw in the footage, of course, I finished up this back. It was the first thing I did. I am really delighted in the whole French seam thing, since that's a new thing I tried, and I kind of love it the way there's no raw edge. And to each one of these legs, first off, I put in the darts. I also folded down this edge, and that's where the buttons and buttonholes are gonna go to keep this thing closed. I stitched up the leg seam and added the facing to the crotch. That is what I did on both of those, and my next project is I'm gonna add this back panel onto the back of the drawers, gather them in, get them to fit, so it's finally one piece. Yeah, those freehand pleats. Something I haven't really done before. I mean, I've done pleating, but it's always been something that kind of scared me. Just sewing the back together, so our two drawer legs will then create one sort of bottom of the outfit. I pinned it. Okay, I just want to show you what I did here. As you can see, I've added a dart. I added it on this side at the connection point of these two, because I did them and I French seamed them, and I had just this excess fabric. And I just turned it into a little dart, Nothing mathematical, just hoping to use up a little fabric. And I don't think it's a bad method. Hopefully next time I'll figure out how to avoid this, but for now, I think it should be fine. I'm preparing the bias strip here, just curling up 1/2 inch on the one side. I've got it pinning to the neckline, so I can just stitch on that one side and then flip that over. There's a bit of fiddling to do around the corners, like they had me put in darts to get it to lie straight. And I'm not totally happy how those turned out, but like I said, everything's a new experience, so you just gotta live and learn. After taking it to the sewing machine, I am cutting down the seam allowance. And hand stitching the entire back of the binding to the back of the combinations. I also did this for the 2 armholes, which, believe it or not, was easier than working on this kind of square neckline situation. I also added buttonholes and sewed on the buttons. As you can see, they are mismatched because I just did not have a big enough collection of like 12 some buttons. I also did a little hemming to the leg. Since it was the later version of the drawers, I didn't like gathering it into the band like you would guess the way combinations are. I just curled up 1/2 inch, then curled up 1 inch after that, so 1.5 inches total, and hand sewed that down. Okay, we finally reached the end where I get to talk about some of my final thoughts. I did loosen up the darts off camera to give me more room in the torso and not have the buttons pull so much. Believe it, the garment is done, and I think it took me, I want to say, around a weekish in my free time. Obviously, as with every single project I make, and maybe this happens to you, there's always like a few things I would do different. And if you're going to use this pattern, which I definitely recommend, I would say because it is such a fitted garment, like I wasn't really expecting it. I was kind of expecting chemise, which is like a sack with arms, and then the drawers are just like a waistband with 2 legs. So I guess I wasn't quite expecting it to be this fitted. I mean, I love it, but next time around, I think I will fit it to me first a little bit better. My only real fit issue is in the back. It's kind of like bubbly because my shoulders are narrower than the pattern. I should say more narrow. That's one of the only fit issues, and then besides letting out the darts. So besides the fact of the things I change, because let's face it, it always happens, I'm actually pretty happy with the result. I mean, I put this thing on and I really feel halfway there to feeling Victorian. The darts just make, it's just such a slimming effect, and it's such a fun effect that I feel halfway there even without the corset on. As you can see, I added in these buttons, and I added in more buttons than they called for because it adds in more of an element of modesty, especially with split drawers, and especially with me being on camera wearing them. So I just added, I'm like, who cares? I can unbutton them if I need to, and I had the buttons. I mismatched the buttons, as you can see. Hope it doesn't look too weird. But then again, the beauty of an undergarment is basically no one's gonna see it unless you watch my videos, and then you will. I also did a few fun things that I added in, as you can see here. The back is pleats. I just did those freehand pleats, so I didn't measure. I just sort of like waited till it fit the right height, which is something kind of exciting for me because pleats are one of those things that always kind of scared me about sewing. It's like, oh, it's a pleat. Not all of them are perfect, but they actually look pretty good. I also did French seams, which is like my first time of doing French seams. which again is really fun. I'm totally in love with French seams, the way they totally encase a seam. It's totally encased. And so I did a lot. I tried out some things, and that was really exciting to actually do those things in real life, put them into work. And all in all, I feel like I've got a good garment here. For joining me on part 1 of my Annie Oakley project, which I am super excited about because I want to say it's been something I've been always wanting to do, but like I said, it's more of a recent thing, and it's my way of being like, I'm in the West now. So I will see you next time on my channel, Girl of a Different Era, where we are making our story history, one creation at a time.